When I was 18, I got pregnant with my very first son. I was just graduated out of high school, and it was absolutely life-changing. It was very unexpected, and I was in a brand new relationship with a guy that I had only been with for about 2 months. And about 5 months into the pregnancy, we found out that he had trisomy 18. And abortion was an option that the perinatal specialist gave us. I knew that there was a reason why I was pregnant with Christopher. I knew that he was given to me for a purpose, and I didn't quite understand that purpose after we found out that he had a fatal chromosome disorder. But I chose to carry him as long as I could.
He was born in December and was stillborn. He was placed to rest in a formal funeral service. And shortly after that, Whitney and the same father had another child. Well, a year later, had another child, Taylor.
He picked me up when I was down. He turned my life around from what I thought was essentially going to end. He saved me from the horrible road that I was going down. And I swore to myself that I wasn't going to have any more children. I was done. I was completely over it because he was difficult. During that time, while I was pregnant with Taylor, I had a lot of ups and downs with his dad. We split up a couple of times. Right after Taylor was born, within months, we had split up again, and I was finished. I was done. And then I had, rekindled the flame with him Father's Day of 2011. And shortly after, we decided to get back together and we got pregnant with John. I never considered myself having another child. I didn't want him because at the time I didn't want him. I had considered adoption a couple of times. My mom told me, she was like, that's an awesome option. That is such a good idea. But the closer I got to the end of my pregnancy, the further off that was an option for me. And March 11th, I gave birth to John Michael and decided that he wasn't going anywhere.
It was not a smooth relationship. They both had financial issues. Neither one of them really had a job or kept a job, but they kept both the kids and tried to support them the best way they could.
When John was about 3 or 4 months old, I found out that I was pregnant with a 4th little boy, Matthew. I knew the moment that I found out that I was pregnant that there was no way that I could have a 3rd child. And around that same time, their dad and I split up. And I had actually called my mom and said, I'm ready to come home. And I had told her that I was pregnant. And that was probably one of the hardest things I had ever done, especially with a 4th baby, as young as I was. Because at this time, it was 2012, and I had just turned 21 in May, and this was September. So I was very young, very naive, very out of it.
Whitney and I went to church together, and she came to me one day and told me that she was pregnant. And I was immediately concerned because she was single and she did have 2 little boys already at home and in a situation that would have been very difficult for her to care for another child.
Along with the choir and our small group, we wanted Whitney to have the opportunity to go to Choices. And so Kim from the choir took Whitney to Choices, and there she was educated about adoptions.
And so whenever we got up here to Choices, which was awesome, Ann Gainey met with me and told me, gave me a list of different adoption agencies, and my adoption counselor, always reassured me that everything was going to be fine, and it was probably the best decision that I ever made. And then on April 17th, I gave birth to Matthew Jeremiah. It was very difficult at first. For 3 days, I got to spend with him. 3 wonderful days. In that time, I got to love him and tell him that I loved him, and I got to cherish the time that I had with him. For 3 days, he belonged to me. And those are 3 days that meant the absolute world to me. On the 3rd day, which was the absolute hardest day, after feeding him and changing his diapers and cuddling with him, I signed away my rights. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I never thought that I would look at a baby and go, I know in my heart that you belong to me, but God has another plan for you. I had found a profile in a stack of profiles that my adoption counselor had given me, and it was of this absolutely wonderful couple. They were so down to earth and so loving, and their profile showed nothing but family, and that's such a big deal to me. And when I found that family, I knew in my heart, there was no doubt in my mind that that's where he belonged. And to know that I helped create their family, I helped give them a child and bless their family to make them feel whole. Now I have a wonderful relationship with an absolutely amazing guy. He's a police officer, and he has stepped in and taken over as probably the best male figure that my children have had, other than my dad. I am very blessed that Kim persuaded me to go to Choices, because up until I was pregnant, I never knew that Choices even existed. So it's awesome to know that in a dark hour such as that, someone is there to help you and to guide you and lead you. And you couldn't ask for more godly women.